Hey bestie, it's time for your next session of Real Talk Friend Therapy with your favorite big sister auntie queen, Daysha Veronica. Woo! Oh man, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, okay? Delivering this week's episode was a journey and a half, okay? Because, as I'm sure y'all know, anything that involves your parents, let me tell y'all, this wasn't just work. This was labor, okay? This was exertion. But if you haven't noticed this about me by now, I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to excavate and to go to all the deep, dark places that no one wants to go to if it means helping someone feel less alone in their situation. But again, let me tell y'all, this episode was work. This was my last guest recorded episode before our mid-season break. And so I'm in that senior spring mode where this is my last assignment to hand in before I graduate. And my mom, listen, homegirl, she did not make turning in that assignment any easier. But, for good reason. I know she was kind of nervous about coming on the podcast and, saying the right things. So I very much appreciate her being willing to go on this journey with me, even though it took forever and an added guest for us to get there. So initially, this was supposed to be just a conversation between me and my mom. But then on Easter, I called to wish my mom a happy Easter, and my sister was in the car. So my mom and I had planned to record later that day. And my mom was like, oh, you should tell Erika, who's my sister, you should tell her the questions you're going to ask me. So I started reading the questions and I'm like, what do you think mommy's response would be to this question? And my sister and I certainly didn't know it at the time, but it was basically her audition to be on this episode with us because, as you can see, my mom and I didn't end up recording on Easter. I want to say we pushed back like 4 or 5 times before my mom finally was like, Erika's answers were just so good. And, I don't know if my answers will be as good as hers. So finally, I was just like, you know what? Let's just have Erika record with us, but no more pushing back the date. And so she agreed. And it's so funny because when I called my sister to ask her to record with us, literally her first words were, I feel like I'm being set up. I feel like I'm being punked. Is she sure she wants my answers? But I was like, no, she wants you. She wants you there and she wants your answers. And I actually love that it ended up being the 3 of us because my sister is a new mom. She just had my nephew, Sonny, about a year and some change ago. And I can't believe how fast time is flying. So when they were together on Easter, she sent me a video of him walking. And I was just like, what? Because literally last April, I was there and he was just a little nugget in my arms. He could barely hold his own bottle. And now he's walking and I can't deal with this. But yeah, I loved having her on with us because the conversation kind of morphed into this round table on motherhood and how we think about what we want to carry into our parenting decisions from our own upbringings. And it just got really cool and really interesting. There are things that my mom took from her parents when it came to raising us, but there's also a lot she chose to leave behind. And so it was interesting for me, at least, to think about what my sister is taking and leaving behind and, what do I want to take and leave behind if I decide to become a parent. I would say like a year or 2 ago, I would have said when I decide to become a parent, but listen, in this economy, and also like where's the world going? Who knows? But anyway, if I decide to become a parent. But yeah, if you're new here, last week I chatted with an amazing licensed therapist, Aaliyah Nuruddin, about the mother-daughter relationship and specifically about whether or not mothers and daughters can be best friends. I feel like over the last decade or so, there's been a big push in American culture, at least, for mothers and daughters to morph into being best friends once the daughter has reached adulthood. And honestly, sometimes even before that. So I highly recommend going back to listen to that episode first because Aaliyah offers some really great insight into that relationship dynamic and how both parties can find and honor what they need out of that relationship. And then today's episode is all about going into the real world and discussing with my mom about the choices she made with raising us. And if being best friends, or even just friends, was ever a thought that crossed her mind and why or why not. Now, I personally do not see her as my best friend, so I'm curious myself on whether or not that was intentional, or, maybe I've been reading the room all wrong these years. Maybe I'm the one that's been shutting the door on a relationship that she would love to see go in a more best friend direction. I could definitely see myself being the closed off one, blocking the potential. So let's see. And then before we get into the episode, I just have a few notes that I want to make. So my sister is a single mom, and so her son was in the room with us when we recorded. And you will hear for yourself, there are definitely moments where Sonny thought that he was the only one in the room. And, he was having a time. So I will say though, for a little babe, he does pretty well. So you'll hear him at times, but definitely not all the way through. And then because of that, Riverside, which is my recording platform, it does this thing I am learning where it favors the mic of the speaking person, but at the same time, it lowers the mics of the other people. So there are a few areas where the audio gets distorted because it's prioritizing Sonny over the adults, but you can still make out what the other person is saying. It just might be a little And then of course I was dog sitting when we recorded this episode, and so the room I was in at the time was super echoey. I know, as someone who runs a podcast, it's like, girl, you have one job, get that good audio. But as a producer, I also know that the show must go on even despite the challenging circumstances. And then lastly, my grandparents, who are my mom's parents, we call them Mom and Papa. So if you hear us talking about Mom and Papa, that's who we're referring to. All right, that's it. So excited to share my conversation with my mom and my sister on whether or not we could ever be best friends. Okay, we made it. If only y'all knew the struggle that we have been through in trying to bring this podcast episode to you, but we have done it.
We did it.
So today I have my lovely sister Erika and my lovely mother Angela,
Hello.
who we call Mommy. And so for this episode, I released prior. Wait, hold on. It says Angela's recording failed. The recording has stopped, but everything up until now has been saved. To continue recording, tell them to stop and restart the studio recording.
All right. It says microphone connection lost. To connect, close any apps using the mic and hang up on any phone calls. So maybe I have apps using my mic already. All right, hold on.
Oh, that.
So why don't you close all your boxes? Get out my phone. I have to play the games because you guys drive me insane. I got voice now.
Wow. Okay. Well.
So all you have to do is close out your stuff. Yep. I told you to practice last week.
You are correct. All right, I'm going to mute you because now that you're both in the same room, it is. Or, Mommy, do you want to sit in the car?
All right, Sonny, Grandma got to go bye-bye. No, you can't have any popcorn. It's for Grandma. You too nosy. Stay out of my business. Yeah, you're too young for popcorn. You can't have popcorn yet. You want a cookie? He's like, I'm asking for that damn popcorn. Oh, he's saying thank you. Thank you. I got out my bed, put on some clothes. Now I got to go sit in the car.
I am sorry. And yeah.
Are we ready this time?
Yes. Are you good, Mommy? You gotta turn it so we see more of your face.
I have my whole face. Better?
Yeah, right there. Okay, great. Amazing. So here we are, take two. It has been quite the day, but this is happening. So again, this is my lovely sister Erika and my lovely mother Angela, and it has been quite the production to bring this episode to fruition, but I'm glad that we're...
Wait a minute. It didn't do the countdown.
Oh, because I never stopped recording. All right. So the episode that I did prior to this was me talking to a therapist about, can my mom be my best friend? And more importantly, should she be? And so I felt like it only made sense to go to the source and to ask my mom about her intentions when it came to raising us. And so we did a practice run a couple days ago, or not a practice run. My mom and my sister were in the car together, and my mom was like, oh, you should tell Erika the questions that you're going to ask me. And so my sister just did so amazingly well with her answers that we had to include her as well in this conversation. All right, Mom. So when you decided to be a mom, did you ever envision the type of mom that you wanted to be or the type of relationship that you wanted with your kids?
So no, I never envisioned what type of mom I wanted to be because I actually really didn't want to be a mom. I wanted to be a teacher and all the children would be my kids. That was my envision. And then along came Erika and I was a mom. So now my envision for being a mom was to take one step at a time and try to do the best that I can.
Okay. All right. I don't think I knew that you wanted to be a teacher.
I didn't either.
Yes, a kindergarten teacher.
Oh, okay. So what type of mom do you think you are now?
Now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm a mom of 3 kids who are all grown and moved out, and I'm still a mom. That's the kind of mom I envision that I am right now.
Okay, I'm going to cut over to Erika for a second. So, Erika, with this question of when you decided to be a mom, did you ever envision the type of mom you wanted to be or the relationship you wanted to have with your kids? What do you think mommy's response? What was your response to this question for mommy?
Well, I don't know about the envisioning part, but the kind of mom from based on what I heard from her and her childhood, it sounded like she was going to be a mom that wasn't going to be that strict because mom and papa were strict. They had these rules. You couldn't wear pajamas all day. You couldn't drink soda before 12. And they had all these rules. So I just remember mommy saying she was going to have all these rules.
Yes, that is true. I wasn't going to have the rules that were put upon me. Not all of them, only some of them. And some of our rules were, if you didn't go to church, you couldn't watch TV till after 12. There was no soda drinking until 12 o'clock. Bedtime is 9 p.m. and no watching TV. You had to get up and you had to go to school every day. If you weren't in school, something had to be wrong. You couldn't go. Or you were very, very sick. So yeah, some of those, and then if you didn't go to church, you couldn't stay home and watch TV. You had to read a book.
But who was going to be there to police you to not watch TV?
Well, I couldn't stay home by myself if I didn't go to church, so there'd be another adult in the house.
Oh, okay. All right.
But Mom, she only worked part-time, so she was always home while he worked.
Okay. So what made you say that you didn't want to be as strict as mom and papa?
Because some of those rules I thought were stupid.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to have certain rules, but not some of the rules that we had. We always had to have Sunday dinner, always eat your food at the table, never come home and put your bag on the table or on the chairs. You had to hang it up on the door. Take off your coat and hang it up. Another one was when they ask you a question, you never say what. It's yes. So we had lots of rules that I thought were a little bit overbearing.
And so you didn't want to put that on us?
No. And then another rule was be seen but not heard. So I always said, well, I don't want my kids to be quiet and not have a voice. So they, allowed them to speak up and have a voice. Some of them, their voices are overabundance of a voice.
Whose voice is an overabundance?
You know who it is.
You know who you are.
You know who it is. You do some deducing.
Okay. So
Do you
Erica,
have a
now
guess, Daysha?
no, I have an
I
idea.
know who it is. Do you know who it is?
I know who it is.
Oh, okay. Well, we won't say.
Yeah, I know who it is. I want to see if she would say it, but
She's not going to say it. The same way she
no.
doesn't have a favorite.
No.
Okay. All right. So, Erica, now going back to what type of mom do you think you are now? How would you describe that for mommy?
She's tired. She's a tired mom. She's tired of us.
Absolutely, I am. I'm tired. Tired. I'm at that senior age where I need to relax, put my feet up, have someone to pass me that control, and get me my slippers.
So, you're acknowledging that you're a senior, though, because for a long time, you weren't a senior.
Let me tell you, she had
Well, I'm not
grandkids.
quite a senior yet. I'm heading there.
Oh.
So I'm prepping myself for when I get there. Because as what went on today, you can see if you don't prep, what happens. But my number one goal is to have that person to pass me a cup of water, get my slippers, and always know where the TV control is.
What were you going to say, Erica?
I was gonna say when she became a grandma, that's when she became old. Cause I'm with
No,
you,
don't
Daisha.
top me out yet.
She was too young. She was young.
Yep, I was too young to become a grandma, but I guess I couldn't stop that.
Yeah, I know. I always think about how when I was young, it didn't dawn on me that you turned 27 like 5 years in a row. It wasn't until one of my teachers called it out.
It was 25, not 27.
Oh, my bad.
Don't add those 2 years, Daisha. Don't do that. Yeah, my what? Mama.
All right. So back to you, mommy. What type of relationship do you think that you have with each of us?
Well, I don't know. Could be a fun relationship. Could be a strict relationship. It could be mother-daughter relationship and mother-son. I don't know. What do you think, Erika?
Well, I think it depends on the child and the time of year. And when I say time of year, I mean we all have our seasons of ins and outs and ups and downs, and if we're annoying you or if we're not annoying you. When life is lifing, we can be more bothersome to you. Like, most times it happens. Right now, I think the relationship is in a good place with everybody, to tell you the truth. I think we get along the best. It's because I'm the oldest, firstborn. Yeah, I think you're in a good spot with each kid, but I do think there are times where you're like, not this one. I need a week off from that one. And then there are times.
Absolutely. I agree.
And then, so I think, it just depends on how life is lifing and what's going on. And, you're busy, you got work, you help take care of your grandkids. And I think I'm strong. I think our relationship is probably the strongest because I'm the only one here.
Yeah, there's that. So Erica's the only one. Erica lives in the same city that we grew up in, which is where my mom still is. Peter, my brother, and I, we're out and about in the world. I just find it interesting that you don't have like a specific, like this is the, but I think Erica nailed it on the head. I think that this is probably like a really good place. Like we're in a really good place in our relationship with you now as adults.
I believe so, and I think part of it is I can always hang up the phone and don't have to answer.
I mean, that's true. That is very true. But you can't do that with Erica, so.
I can do it with Erika, too.
Well, wait, what were you going to say, Daysha? You can't believe what?
Because I'm like, so what is the relationship with each of us? And you're like, I don't know. Maybe it's fun. Maybe sometimes it's...
Well, I don't know. Each one brings different things to the table at certain times and certain points in life. It's not consistent, but each person brings something different,
What do I bring?
Like you said, you're away and Peter's away. Erika's here. So she brings more physical stuff to a mother-daughter relationship because she's here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You're away, so it's more conversational. And same thing with Peter.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think that if I'm adding my 2 cents, I think Erica's the one that you go and you do stuff with. You guys go shopping and, you know, you take Sunny out. Sunny is Erica's son. And you do a lot, like you said, a lot of physical stuff. Whereas like for me, I think that you turn to me more to vent and to kind of talk about things that are going on at work or just in life. And then I think Peter, I feel like Peter vents to you probably more than you vent to him.
Yeah, Peter does vent to me a lot. And yeah, I do vent to him too, but I don't get the responses that I really want, so. But Peter does check in. I do have to say that a lot. Peter does check in quite often.
I think he checks in the most out of all 3 of us.
He does. If I say I'm sick, he's going to call to see how you're doing or whatever, you know. He does check in. I think he does check in the most.
I believe that.
Each person brings different things to the table at different seasons for different reasons.
Wait, so Erika, you asked what do you bring to the table?
Yeah, she answered it. We go shopping and we hang out.
Okay.
Is there more for your firstborn?
If you do more, there's more.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so has it ever crossed your mind to be best friends with any of us?
No, absolutely not. I am the parent. I am older. I am the mother. I have the last word, and I am in control. But it is up to you to listen to what I have to say and follow what I have to say.
Okay. Erika, what's your take on that?
I knew that she wasn't our friend. She told me multiple times, I'm not your friend. I'm not one of your little friends. I heard it. I knew it. So when you asked that question, I already knew the answer. She's not my friend. She's the mother. We wouldn't. No, we're not friends. No.
And why was it important to you that we didn't have a friend-like relationship? Like, what is the difference between being a friend and a mother?
Well, if I'm your friend, I can't be your mother, because if I'm your friend, we equal. But I'm your mother, so we ain't equal. I'm above, because I'm the mother. As they say, I repeat it from Good Times. I brought you in this world, I'll take you out, because I'm the mother.
Good times. Good times. Mommy said that to me, too. She ever say it to you?
I brought you in this world, so I'll take you out?
Yep.
No, I don't think I got that.
You missed a lot.
I did. You had a full 6 years ahead of me, so...
Yeah, she wasn't our friend. No, she's the mom. I think that's part of like with mom and papa too, you know? Like, they weren't your friends, you know? But they were still very loving and kind. It was just very authoritative, you know? And I think mom is very much like that too.
Yeah. No, I agree. When I did the episode with the therapist, I was like, my mom's not my best friend, but like, I also think I'm not her best friend. Like, I think that was the point, that we were never friends.
Right? I was like, forget best friends. We weren't friends.
Nope. You can't be my child and be my friend. Oh, no.
So what do you think about people who do try to be friends with their kids? Why do you think they do that?
Because they want their kids to like them, I think, most of the time. And they just want to be friends with their kids, maybe because they don't have a life. They don't have their own life. They don't have their own friends. Or maybe they missed out in some part of life doing all these young things that these young people do, that they see their children doing it and say, gee, I wish I did that as a young person, and then they join in. Something missing in their life, and they're finding it in their children.
Erika, how do you think that it has served you in life, her choosing not to be friends with us?
I think it is a good example of like boundaries. Like, there's like certain things that you shouldn't do with your mom because she's not your friend, which sets a really good like example and precedent for like, all right, there's certain things you shouldn't do at church. There's certain things you shouldn't do at school. There's certain things that you can do, and is better off to do with friends and girlfriends and things like that. So I think having that from like childhood helped in other environments.
Yeah, no, it's so funny. So I think what's hard is that when people are, so yes, you are our mom, you are the authoritarian, but I think that that was much bigger when we were younger. And now that we are adults, I think a lot of people don't know they don't know what that relationship should look like now that you're an adult and you're no longer, like, yes, I am your child, but I am not in childhood anymore. I'm in adulthood. And so it's like, what does that relationship look like now? Because I have an amount of independence that I didn't have before. And so you're not really an authoritarian as much as you were when we were in childhood.
True. But you ask me my opinion, you ask me for my voice, and I give you my voice. Then it's up to you to decide what you want to do. But long story short, at the end of the problem, and my voice, my story, comes back to be the appropriate one, and you went the other way, once again, that's the mother in me that told you what to do, and as an adult, you choose not to. And we all go that way sometimes. Got to remember, I've been there, and I've done that in a different decade. It's pretty much still the same thing.
You know what? Case in point, because I'll give it to you. My mom kept trying to get me to do a practice run for this episode, and I kept telling her we don't need to do a practice run. Turns out we probably should have done a practice run.
Because it took 2 hours to get it together.
Like I always say, I told you so. I've been told I shouldn't say I told you so because what is it? I put more salt into it than I need to.
You do.
But I have to say, I didn't say I told you so today. I just kept saying,
you did.
done a practice run.
Yeah, you did.
No, she said you don't want to hear it. She waited for the video to tell you she told you so.
Everybody says I always say I told you so, and I'm adding salt to the injury. So all I kept saying was we should have done a practice run. I didn't say I told you so.
Well, again, I offer you were right. But, I think that there's power in you kind of letting us, like you said, like all you can do, I think now as adults, like all you can really do is offer your perspective. And what is it? It's like a hard head makes for a soft bottom or something like that. Like, we end up figuring it out.
Absolutely.
It's hard
exactly.
ears. I thought it was hard ears.
Oh, maybe it is hard ears.
Or it's a hard head makes for a soft behind. There's something else for hard ears, but I can't remember what it is.
So, I pretty much know the answer. So, like, you weren't trying to raise us to be friends with you, but has it ever crossed your mind in adulthood to want to be friends with us in some capacity?
No, I never thought about ever being friends. It just never crossed my mind. Because at the end of the day, I get the last say. If we're going out somewhere and I don't like what's going down, I get the last say whether you can get in my car or not. Whether I take you home or you got to find an Uber. Because that's the mom of inside me. Friends can't do that to friends, but parents can.
Okay.
I know it might sound like I'm mean, but my ways work, I think. Not all the time, but they do.
I appreciate that you didn't raise us to be friends with you, because I think that going back to what Erika said, I think it created boundaries and it created an example of what it looks like to be in community with adults. Because I think that when children are raised to see their parents as friends, like I think that Erika and Peter and I, like we are really good at being respectful in a way that I think can get lost when in like other kids. And I think that we just have I feel like we have a sense of what it means to be a respectful person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I told the therapist a story about how one day you and I were on the phone and I cursed in front of you and you were like, I think you forgot who you were talking to.
That's why I was your friend. It would just not be noticed, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because friends let friends say things like that, not your parents.
Yeah. You can talk freely with your friends.
This parent. Funny, Peter slips those words in all the time, too. And then in the beginning, I said, Did you forget who you were talking to? Now, occasionally he'll slip them in and he'll quickly say, I'm sorry. He's gotten the point.
Yeah, I just think because as people, there's just certain parts of ourselves that you don't express in certain areas. And I think that we're doing it out of respect for you because you are our mom and we shouldn't be talking like that in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. As a parent, you have choices. As a friend, you have choices too. If you were locked up in the jail cell and you called your friend for your one phone call, they can say yes and they can say no, whether they're coming or not. But as a parent, they can say yes or they can say no. But me, as that parent, I might say no, but I would still come because I'm going to let you stew and see your mistake, but I'm still coming because I'm your parent. And I will come with my attitude, but I will defend you, whether you are right or wrong, because you're my child, and then we'll fix it.
Yeah, like I think for me, I always knew that, and I think I said this on the episode, I was like, you're not my best friend, but you are like my biggest cheerleader and you are my biggest supporter. And you are someone who I think is there, you have my back. And I think that I
That's what parents do.
Yeah, and I think I prefer that over you being my friend.
Because friends come and go. Parents don't.
Well, yeah, that is, Erika made me realize that a couple of years ago. She was like, we only get one mom. Like, she's it. So we got to figure it out.
This is it.
That's absolutely true.
Erika,
you got one mom.
Go ahead, mommy. You just keep talking.
I said you got one mom, but I got 3 children, so I can pick and choose. But you only got one mom.
So, Erika, what do you think about the idea of parents and children being best friends? Like, do you think that's possible? Are you going to be best friends with Sunny?
Not at all. Nope. Sunny and I will be friendly, but we will not be friends, nor will we ever be best friends. I want the same type of boundaries and respect that mommy has with us. There are certain things that he should not be doing or discussing in front of me. Those are things that he will have to take to his friends. And certain type of behaviors that I will expect of him when he is with his mother and the way that he treats me. Because I feel as if we're friends, anything can go, And as his mom, that's not how I want to raise him to be, where with mom, anything goes. Because if anything goes with mom, then people who don't matter, anything goes with them too. And I don't want that to be the mindset or the standard or expectation. Like, Sonny's not going to be one of those kids that when I say his name, he says, what? Oh, no. It's going to be yes. He's going to be one of those kids that, greets you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Like, those are things that we had that I value. To this day, if I enter a room and I don't say it, I'll be like, ugh, I gotta go back. I'm sorry, I didn't say good afternoon. And I entered this room. I can hear my mom right now in my ear saying, it's not good brought up, see, And I feel like we are representatives of our parents, And I think it also, the way you show yourself in the world goes back to that. And I would want mommy to feel proud of me. And I want to feel proud of Sunny. So, the way you show yourself is important.
Yeah. Why do you think that people want to be friends with their kids?
Why?
Yeah, why do you think people trend towards that?
I don't know. Maybe it's too hard to be a mom and it's easier to be a friend because you've spent more time and had more practice doing that. I'm a new mom and I'm learning every day, But if you think about it, I've had more experience and more time to be a friend than I've ever had to be a mother, And so sometimes it's easier to just fall into that realm of familiarity.
Yeah. Is there a part of you at any point in time that...
I'm sorry, Sunny's singing. I can't hear you.
Sunny's like, I will be heard.
I hear you, my love. I hear you. It's beautiful singing, but I can't hear on day, okay?
Was there ever a part of you at any time that longed to have a friend-like relationship with mommy, or have you always been comfortable? Nope.
I'm telling you, I don't think I even had the opportunity to think about it because I've been told from a young age she is not my friend. So I knew it wasn't going to happen. So I don't ever think I thought about it. And like, mommy may not have been strict in the way that mom and papa were strict, but she had her own set of rules, about the way that you talk to someone, the way that you treat someone. And it was very like, this is how it is. And so I don't think there's the opportunity to be like, to act the way I would act with my friends because there was an expectation, there was a bar, there was a standard.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So my last question was, do you ever think that we could be best friends with you? But I know the answer.
Oh, you don't want me to say it?
You can say it. You can say it.
Absolutely not. No. Not even Sonny will be my best friend.
Why does the grandson get to be the best friend?
I said he's not going to be my best friend.
Oh, Sonny's not?
Oh.
No. Sonny will not be my best friend neither. He will have his own set of rules and regulations to follow.
Because you said the other day that Sonny was going to be your best friend.
I know.
Oh, you'll be my best friend under the grandparent best friend. But he will have rules and regulations to follow too. But the difference with Sonny, I can always send him home. As long as he gets those slippers, that drink, and the remote control, we're good.
You hear Grandma? Grandma said you gotta get her slippers. More? You waving at Grandma? She can't. I would show him, but he made a mess over here. He took his cookie and poured water on it and made himself a cookie pool of yuck. Put it on his face and his hair, on his clothes. He thought he was doing arts and crafts.
All right. So
I remember one of my favorite rules. That was, you must always tell me when you got into trouble. You must always tell me when something's not right. Why? Because I didn't want to hear it from somebody else first, and I didn't want to hear it on the streets first. Because when I heard it from somebody else or on the street first, I would not properly be able to defend you. But if you always came to me first, I would defend you, whether you're right or wrong, and always had your back. But you must come and tell me first. Does anybody remember that rule?
Yes.
I remember it was a variation of like, don't get caught, because if you get caught, then, you messed up. Like,
that's not my rule. Get caught, you messed up.
Yeah, I don't think that's mommy.
Maybe it goes a different way.
Yeah, I mean, it might go, but like that's how I internalized it. But it was basically like, if I find out about it, I mean, maybe it is this way and I just internalized it differently, but it's like, if I find out about it, you messed up.
Yep. If I find out before you tell me, then I can't have your back because you didn't tell me and I don't know what to say and I'm not prepared for it. But I'll always have your back if you come to me first, whether you're right or wrong, and we will settle it at home.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say I felt that too. Like, I feel like, again, like, you weren't my best friend, but like, you would protect me. And I don't know if all of your friends are necessarily going to protect you. Like, obviously, like, super close ones will. But yeah, I do feel like I felt protected.
Yeah, friends will only protect you in certain occasions for certain reasons, but not always.
All right, so then Erika, would you ever want to be best friends with mommy, or that's also I'm good?
It's a hard no. No.
What about you, Daysha? You want to be my best friend?
No, I don't want to either, but I do think that there was a point in time where I felt guilty because I felt like there was this societal pressure that it's like, your mom should become your best friend and you should be comfortable doing certain things. And I was like, I don't feel that way,
When did you have that?
Maybe when I was in college, but it wasn't that, I always knew. I was like, but she's not my friend, like, even though I don't think you told it to me as explicitly as you told Erika, but I was just like, she's my mom,
Yes.
But yeah, there are people who are like, I go on cruises with my mom and we drink together and we do da-da-da-da together. And like, I think that I was just like, we'll travel, but like we're not going to be kikiing all the time.
No, we will not be drinking together at all. No way.
It's true. I be trying to get her to have a drink. Nope, I'm not drinking with you.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, is there anything else either of you want to add?
Nobody's a perfect mom. All mothers have different rules. No child will say they had a perfect childhood, but I think every majority of parents do the best that they can. And there's some that can do better, and there's some that are overbearing and can do less. I feel like I was in between. I feel like life was good, but life was also bad. But I did the best that I can. There were certain things I wanted my children to have, and I tried my best to provide that for them. But now they're adults, and they have to figure out what they want to provide for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that, at the end of the day, I think Erica brought up a really great point that new mothers in general, like when they first have kids, like you're just trying to figure it out. Like it's your first time kind of doing it. You're trying to figure out, how much from my upbringing do I want to put on my kids? And so I think that it would have been interesting to see how we would have turned out if you had been as strict as mom and papa, but I like what we had.
You had a lot of freedom, but yet not too much. I remember another rule. When you leave my doorstep, we don't leave the house to go hang out on the street. We leave the house to go to a destination, and then we return back. But we're not leaving the house just to walk the street. You guys remember that one?
Yeah. Because I feel like I tried to walk the streets, and it just wasn't letting it happen.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think Erica got more explicit rules and I got more implicit, maybe from, you're probably tired by the time I came along, but I do remember general.
By the time you came along, Daysha, I was already looking for the programs to put you in so you couldn't try to walk the street.
There was no hanging out on the street.
Like the other thing that I think I love, I mean, I hated it when I was younger, but, we always had to be in some sort of program. We couldn't just be at home hanging out, doing whatever. We always had to be in
Nope, always keep busy. Always keep the mind rolling. I made sure you're always in some kind of educational program.
Yeah, Erica, what do you think that you're going to take as, you're embarking on motherhood and raising Sunny? Like, what do you think that you'll take from how you were raised towards Sunny?
I'm not embarking, Daysha. I'm in the trenches. I'm already there.
My bad.
I think I'll probably do the same thing. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to just like hang out with my friends and things like that. But like mommy said, you were always in a program or in some type of activity, she frowned upon it. And I think I'll probably do the same thing with Sunny. I want him to do things that are constructive and that will be beneficial for him in his development and as he grows older and be useful to him. So I don't think he'll be one of those kids hanging out at the park just to hang out unless he's doing something there like a sport or like an activity that's structured. Yeah, I think I would keep that.
I feel the same way. Mommy, you chose a really great place to raise us in terms of, keeping us intellectually stimulated.
I used some of the resources that I had as a child. We always had to go to summer camp, always go to school, we go to community schools after school, we go to tutoring and things like that. So I did keep that portion of my childhood and pass that on to you guys.
Mm-hmm. It was school all year round, it felt like. Summer school.
24/7, 365. There were vacations. As a child, we always went on vacation, and I always tried to provide vacations for you guys, too. So there was some good in there.
There were vacations, really good ones, too.
Even Sonny's been on some good vacations, and he's not even 2 yet.
I know, Sun's already. Yeah, my wow. Yeah. International traveler. Sonny's waving
Any
by.
Last words? Oh. Any last words? Since Sonny is like, I'm done with y'all.
Didn't Sonny do a good job, though?
He did.
Yep.
He did.
I'm so proud of my baby.
Just a little bit loud.
I mean, he sang his little heart out, but other than that, he didn't cry, he didn't throw nothing. He just sang. He's waving goodbye. He's like, bye, guys.
Well, my last words are, as a mom, you have to do the best that you can do. You won't always make the right decision, and some of the decisions may be wrong, you know. Sometimes you can talk to other parents because all parents are in the same boat. They just don't know it unless you communicate with others. But you don't have to take the choices that they take neither. You can just listen, you know, and then you can think for yourself and follow your own rules. But parenting is very hard, you know. Sometimes your child might do something very wrong. You can't always confront them right away. You have to wait and try to figure out what you're going to say, you know. That's what I always did. You guys would do something and I would know. I'd wait like a week or two later and then confront you, and you wouldn't even know that it was coming. So you would have to just confess because you're totally shocked that I got you.
That is true. You would always say that, like, whatever you gonna do, I'm gonna find out. And I'd be like, how's she gonna find out? But you always found out.
Because when I found out, I just never said nothing and continued with my clues. And when I had my file ready to bust out, I busted out. And you had nothing to say because I had too many. Too much information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Columbo was Columboing, okay?
That's her nickname, is Columbo.
Always
Columbo.
coming with the
Because I
report
always
and the
have.
file.
One more question. And it's funny, the question would not be about whatever you did. It would be talking around whatever you did. And you wouldn't know that I knew. I think the first person who would figure out that I knew would be Erika after a while.
Yeah. I remember, I think senior year or junior year of high school, I just was like, just tell her what you're going to do and leave it at that. I was like, she's going to figure it out. You're going to get caught. Just tell her.
Yeah, half the time I already knew, but I sat and I waited to figure out what was going on, waiting for you to come to me. And then when it took too long, I sure bust out what I knew.
Yeah, always got caught. It was always. I would probably say my piece of advice would be for mothers, just give yourself grace. And that's something that I work on a lot with myself, you know, is giving myself grace and understanding. Because like Mommy said, mothering is hard, you know, and you won't always make the right decisions, even though you have the best intentions. And you got to just be able to know that it's okay and to move forward.
I agree. I mean, you have to know that you brought this child into this world. So you are responsible for this child. As an adult now, the child comes first as a parent before you. Because the child was not asked to be brought into this world. And that was my way of parenting, that the child didn't ask to come into this world. And I always had to try and put the child first for anything they need before me.
Yeah. No, I think that you sacrificed a lot, and you were not afraid to let us know what you sacrificed either.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, Daysha, you are right.
So your sacrifice is appreciated.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm absolutely glad. Now is my time to be free as an adult and do the things that I sacrificed early on.
I am so sad. I forgot to do scroll double tap DM with my mom and my sister. And if you're new here, that's a little game that I like to play at the end of every episode with my guests. Erika was literally not lying when she said it took like 2 hours for us to just start recording because of all of the technical issues. Oh my God, I didn't even tell y'all that when we started recording, my mom was at home. But because we couldn't figure out why her mic wasn't working, she had to get fully dressed. Because she was like, I don't even know if she might be mad at me for telling the story, but she she only had her top self presentable. So then when she had to go to my sister's house to go record, she was just like, you mean I gotta put pants on? And we were like, yeah. And we were like, wait, what? And she was like, isn't that what y'all young people do when you're on Zoom? So It was quite the day for everyone. But if y'all loved hearing from them, definitely let me know, and this won't be the last time I have them on. I actually really, really loved getting to have this conversation with them. I usually talk to them individually when I call to catch up, so it was really nice to get to have this three-way conversation. Honestly, because I think Erika filled in so many gaps for both me and my mom. I feel like she's our family historian sometimes, because I'll be thinking I remembered something the right way, and then I'll tell her and she's like, nope, you're missing this, this, and this. But yeah, it was so fascinating for me to think about the parts of my upbringing that I want to bring into my parenting or leave behind. I was actually talking about it with my boyfriend, and I was like, I mean, y'all know me, I cuss like a sailor. So I was like, I don't know, I don't think I'd be so strict about cursing in front of me. I definitely set a boundary about where they can talk like that, and I'd never want them to use that language at us. But, you know, if my daughter wanted to tell me about a bitchy coworker or that she was having a shit day, I think I'd be fine with that. But I also think it just goes to show you how parenting will truly never be one size fits all. You really are just feeling it out and making discoveries as you go. And like my mom said, there are times where you're not going to get it right. But then I love that grace has been such a big recurring theme here on the podcast for the last few episodes. It's really making me realize how essential grace is, not even just for our friendships, but all the relationships that we have in our lives, including the one that we have with ourselves. Because just like a mom might not get it right with her children, or a friend might not get it right with us, or we might not even get it right with other people, the ability to have grace for others and to have grace for ourselves in that moment is just so important, because we're all truly just trying to do our best. I want to believe that most people we encounter aren't trying to do us dirty. They weren't trying to give their kids crappy childhoods, or they weren't trying to be awful parents or friends. And I don't say that to say that we should be easily forgiving to people or to just let the past be the past, but more so just to remind people of our shared humanity. I think one of the most beautiful and the most challenging aspects of being human and living a life is that there are so many different ways to live it. There are so many choices that we have to make that we have no idea how that outcome will serve us. And so knowing that, it's like, probability says it's a guarantee that we're gonna fuck up a few things. It's not if, it's when, okay? But even acknowledging that, I also don't think grace is something that we should be handing out to people all willy-nilly. I think grace is a gift and not a right. So it is definitely something that I'd love to explore more in the next half of our season. As I mentioned earlier, I will be going on a mid-season break starting in June. So our last episode before the break will be next week. And then I'll be airing new episodes again starting in mid-July. But it is so important to know that I will only be taking a break from new podcast episodes. There will still definitely be so much new content coming your way over on YouTube and social media during that time. So please make sure you're following us on social, you're following us on YouTube, and you're on our email list. As always, if you have thoughts, feelings, questions, or revelations that you want to share with me, or you want to add to the conversation, make sure you leave us a comment wherever you're listening, or you can screenshot the episode and tag me on social media with your thoughts, and you can join the Real Talk Friend Therapy Facebook group to engage there. All right, besties, I'll catch you next time. Your girl is out. Loving Real Talk Friend Therapy? Of course you are. So don't forget to show us some love with a 5-star review wherever you are listening, and to join our free Facebook group to chat, engage, and maybe even make a new friend, okay? See you inside.